Alright, so just making sure that my mask is not loose because you know what? I really need to have popcorn right now because our topic for today is going to be very entertaining, intriguing, and interesting. So, alright, let's go and start this episode. So as you can see on my screen, so I have this screen recording on my computer screen. The story is titled Crackdown Looms, Will Marcos Romualdez Regime Shut Down Pro-Duterte Network SMNI over fake news. So for those of you who have been following closely politics in this country, so you might have noticed the rift between the Duterte camp and the ruling political party in this country, the Marcos Romualdez camp. So it's not actually true that the ruling political party in this country is the Duterte slash Marcos camp. Hindi yan totoo, right? What's actually going on is that there's this widening rift between these two political families, very powerful political families from, of course, Davao, as we all know, the Duterte family is from Davao, and the fusion between, the Visayan region and Ilocandia region. So this is basically the result of the marriage between the father of the president, Bongbong Marcos, Ferdinand Marcos Sr., and Miss Imelda Marcos, many, many years ago. All right, so as I've said, this is going to be very interesting, entertaining, and intriguing because so far today, as you can see, this is our top story. This is how we do news at Daily Netizen. So this is going to be our top story. And like I said, it's titled, Will Marcos Romualdez Regime Shut Down Pro-Duterte Network SMNI over fake news. So basically, of all the possible charges that they could come up with against Apollo Quiboloy, the owner of SMNI, SMNI means Sunshine Media Network International. I have to read this from my computer screen because I'm not really familiar with the term, although I've been hearing SMNI over the past few months. I've not been into politics over the past few years because I was focused on American politics. I was a writer for one of the biggest conservative news organizations in the United States for a couple of months. I wrote news stories for Americans. That's my part-time job. But then after, having been done with that gig, I'm now focused on our news magazine, which is the Daily Net. So basically right now it's 5:42 in the morning, Wednesday, all right? Wednesday in the Philippines. Yesterday, basically the war has just started when the House of Representatives, being led by the cousin of the President, Bongbong Marcos, Martin Romualdez, ordered the Committee on Legislative Franchises to investigate SMNI for alleged fake news. So let's read the story that we just wrote for you. And again, this is our top story, and this is going to be very interesting over the next few days or probably months, because congressional investigations are going to take weeks or probably months from its inception. So we learned, and this is what I'm going to read for you today, that the investigation against SMNI is going to start this coming Thursday, November 30th. All right, that's how important this investigation is going to be. So a political storm is brewing in the Philippines. So I'm going to read to you the lead paragraph, okay? As the House of Representatives initiates an investigation into SMNI, a purportedly pro-China media network associated with the former President Rodrigo Duterte. This move follows a pattern reminiscent of the controversial shutdown of the ABS-CBN basically in 2020, a giant TV network that Duterte and his allies perceived to be a political enemy. All right, that's the reason why they shut down ABS-CBN, and it looks like we're going to have another shutdown this year during the second year of the term of Bongbong Marcos. All right, because we've seen, based on the actions and reports of SMNI employees or anchors or pundits, that they're basically positioning their network, the TV network or media network, being funded by the Quiboloy evangelical industrial complex, to be the opposition, all right, in the Philippines, the opposition media in this country against the Marcos Romualdez regime. And if you're going to check, for example, the SMNI news channel, you will definitely see that they're trying to prop up, they're trying to promote none other than, of course, not Duterte, because he's already part of the media talent of SMNI. They have this program called Gikan sa Masa, right? And I've been following this for a couple of days, and I learned a lot of things watching some of their videos, especially this Gikan sa Masa that's being led or spearheaded by Quiboloy, Apollo Quiboloy himself, and their star news, not anchor, but pundit, none other than former President Rodrigo Duterte. So if you're going to check on the headline itself, all right, it's basically the Duterte network. SMNI network is the Duterte network. For example, resolution, they're against the ICC. All right. By the way, let me just clarify. And again, welcome to our channel. I hope you're all doing fine. I'm sorry if I forgot about my opening spiel. All right, to welcome you all because I was so excited to really start this vlog because again, our topic for today is going to be very exciting. It's intriguing, and like I said, it's going to be immediate topic. The Philippine media is going to have their field day over the next few weeks or months after Thursday or November 30th. So if you're going to check on the website of the SMNI, like I said, it's all about Duterte. It's all about their defense of Duterte against the ICC, which threatens to basically investigate not just Duterte, but also his henchmen like Bato de la Rosa, who said that, oh, I'm ready to go to jail, all right, if ever that's going to happen, if we're going to get arrested by the ICC and their I don't know, if the ICC, unfortunately, does not have a military unit to enforce whatever arrest they're trying to make in any country. So, for example, when President Duterte went to China, they cannot enforce their I don't know, international subpoena because China is not supportive of the ICC, right? Just like the United States, ironically, right? China, the United States, and other powerful countries are not really respecting the authority of the ICC. But before I'm gonna get derailed, yes, this is basically what this SMNI channel and website looks like. All right, it's pro Duterte. Let me continue. The lower chamber, led by House Speaker Martin Romualdez, again, the first cousin of President Bongbong Marcos, has directed its legislative franchises panel to initiate a swift probe of SMNI starting Thursday. And the trigger for this investigation is the alleged dissemination of disinformation by the network, which recently vehemently condemned the ICC's threats to investigate Duterte. Now, I just posted this privileged speech by
We stand on the shoulders.
this House member and, of course, ally of the Marcos Romualdez regime. Right, his name is David Suarez, and his cousin, 2nd District Representative. And he did this privileged speech. It's very scathing. The language of the speech is pretty strong against SMNI as, you know, the disseminator of or the spreader of disinformation. So let's watch this speech by this, political ally of the Marcos Romualdez regime.
Of those that have gone before us, men and women who have dedicated their lives
What?
to serve tayo mga mambabatas.
Skip that very boring introduction.
May agam-agam po ako, Madam Speaker, tungkol po sa isang video na napanood ko kaninang umaga.
So, okay, this guy personally watched a video. He didn't even say that there are actually rumors, or no, he didn't start with that kind of speech, right? He didn't say there's this trending topics on Twitter or on lots of social media in the country that blah blah blah. He didn't start with that to basically somehow show to the public that what he's going to say is pressing and it's going to be very important. Let's continue.
At doon po sa video na yon na ipinalabas sa SMNI at 10:27 p.m. Doon sinasabi that Speaker Martin Romualdez spent 1.8 billion pesos in traveling. At dinagdagan pa. Baka nga hindi lang 1.8, mahigitan pa. Kasama ng kanyang entourage. Ang tanong, is it true?
Alright, so, see, okay, first let me just tell you that I'm neither pro Duterte nor pro Marcos. In fact, during the term of former President Rodrigo Duterte, I was a very, very ardent critic. I was a critic of his drug war, alright? Critic of almost everything, including his draconian lockdown policies during the COVID pandemic. And I'm an Ilocano, but I'm never a Marcos fanatic. I'm also not a supporter of the current president. So that's the reason why I said I hope I had popcorn right now, because this rift between these two political parties, basically they're parties, because I think in May, Sara Duterte stepped down as a leader of the political party of the Unity Party, all right, the Unity Party. The Sara Duterte stepped down after the demotion of Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, who was unceremoniously ousted just pretty recently, a couple of weeks ago. Now we have this, right? The attack on SMNI, the Duterte network, basically the ABS-CBN, all right, the opposition's ABS-CBN in 2020 when President Duterte and his allies tried to shut down that giant network, all right. But this time there's this opposition, SMNI. Although they're basically, if you're gonna watch, some of their videos, especially the news videos that they're trying to make it appear that what they're showing are news articles or news stories, but basically they're not. They're propaganda, all right, pro Duterte propaganda, all right. But before that, let's continue with this speech by
Ang tanong,
Mr. Suarez.
totoo ba ito? Did they even care to validate?
So yeah, I mean, we're gonna investigate SMNI because they disseminated fake news. I mean, this network, all right, Quiboloy network, has been disseminating fake news for years, especially during the term of President Duterte. So why only now? I mean, the timing is very suspect, pretty suspect. So after, Sara Duterte conceded, no longer gonna be insisting on getting my multi-billion or hundreds of millions of Intel fund. I'm no longer interested. I give up. Right? But then some people within the Duterte circle, the vloggers, especially Maharlika, who I have been following to really understand where she's getting her leads from. All right? Saan niya kinukuha yung mga chismis niya, for example. And I suspect that she's being fed by of course, you know who. I don't have to mention names. All right? So, nung nawala yung Intel fund ni Sara Duterte, they probably realized, parang pinain sa atin to. Don't you suspect that? Don't you find that suspicious? Na yung Intel fund ay ginamit ng mga media para atakihin si Sara Duterte. Again, I'm not a fan of Sara Duterte. In fact, I'm a critic. But I'm just trying to be very objective and trying to tell you what actually is going on. I'm trying to read, the political events in this country like I did with, the current events or the news events in the United States a couple of months ago when I was writing for this conservative network. All right? So, don't you suspect that na orchestrated yung nangyari? Kunwari, binigay kagad-agad kay Sara, pero inimbestigahan, daming mga issues sa kanyang Intel, then until probably she realized, or they realized, this is not worth fighting for. But then, Mr. Duterte, former President Duterte, in SMNI, especially on his program, Gikan sa Masa, I don't know what that means actually, he was like lamenting, we need this Intel fund for my daughter because we really need
Did they even care to?
We really need it to fight against insurgency and the Reds in this country. But you know what? That's bullshit. That's bull. All right? Because Duterte is using that as an excuse. What I mean is, he's using the CPP-NPA. And he was definitely, if you're going to check on Google, the archives, etc., he was a sympathizer of the CPP-NPA. He attended their meetings, he was hobnobbing with their leaders, etc. So he was part of the CPP-NPA. I just don't know, or we just don't have an idea as to the extent of that partnership or that kind of closeness that he had with the Reds in the past. But then from being a cuddler, and I'm going to use that word cuddler, and sympathizer, he's now, a critic of the CPP-NPA. In fact, I have this Facebook page followed by a few thousands of netizens in this country. When he was still starting, in 2016, he actually tried to appease the Reds and he promised to have this transitional power sharing set up with the Reds. But then Joma season was like, and Joma season, all right, Joma season technically, I'm going to use that word, technically endorsed Mr. Duterte. He technically endorsed him. And he even likened him to Hugo Chavez. Was it Hugo Chavez? Yeah, I think, of Venezuela. He likened him to Hugo Chavez, the boy of Fidel Castro from Cuba. All right, I'm pretty much familiar with all of these issues. All right, so Duterte can never fool me. If he can fool millions of people like he did with the same supporters probably before 2016, that he's going to wage war against drugs. Yes, Duterte's new war on drugs is his war on the Reds. All right, he's doing that to stay relevant. Para just to keep his influence, because he needs to have a new war to be politically relevant again. Because as he said, and I watched that, I was watching it live, last week, I think Monday last week, when he said that, okay, if they're gonna try to oust Sarah, my daughter, via impeachment, then I'm gonna run for vice president or senator. He said that, and I was watching it live, Okay, so he's got this ambition to keep, not actually probably for himself, to keep the influence alive, but for his family, because he knows that his family needs him. You know, I told this to my one of my friends, one of my co-workers actually, that yes, Duterte is being a tyrant. You know, he had this taste of being a tyrant during the COVID pandemic or the draconian lockdowns era, and he probably enjoyed it. You know, is it ironic as well that from being an anti-West, pro-China, pro-Russia, you know, the time, because Obama didn't like him, basically the liberals in the United States didn't like him, and of course Maria Ressa didn't like him because Maria Ressa's party mates back in the U.S. hated Duterte, and of course Maria Ressa, and I'm a critic as well of Maria. I don't like Maria Ressa. I think she's a puppet of the globalists, and she was simply given that Nobel Peace Prize, you know, award because of what? What actually did Maria Ressa do? She is just a Duterte martyr. That's all she did, to be a martyr of Duterte. So basically, Duterte made Maria Ressa, and Maria Ressa should thank Duterte for that. And she didn't do anything. I mean, of all people, of all the self-styled journalists in the world who really deserved that award, I think that it should have been Julian Assange. Or it could have been, yeah, I think Julian Assange really deserved that award instead of Maria Ressa, who didn't do anything. And I actually predicted that, you know, whatever charges that they filed against Maria Ressa are going to get ditched by our courts because, you know, Maria Ressa is so lucky that we don't have the same court system that the Democrats, her party mates back in the US, have. All right? The Democrats are trying to treat Trump supporters like they're terrorists. Tinuturing silang parang terrorists, yung mga January 6 support, you know, protesters who did not actually do anything at all. You know, wala silang ginawa kundi nagprotesta. And we are now learning that J6 so-called insurrection was actually infiltrated by the feds. And what we mean by feds is not just basically the FBI, but any entity, any legal enforcement or law enforcement units of the federal governments, all right? Because the United States is basically a federal government system. It has a federal government system. So what I'm trying to tell you is that it's not actually between the Dutertes and Romualdez, all right? They're simply using Romualdez as their voto target, all right? By they, I mean the Duterte and his cronies, all right? The media cronies, the Quiboloys, and probably the remaining billionaire bankrollers of Duterte. Okay, it's actually between the Duterte industrial complex and the Marcos Romualdez political camp. That's actually the actual political setup in this country. Sila yung magkalaban, all right? Regardless of what both camps say, they actually see themselves as political enemies now. And for Duterte, he's trying to stay relevant, all right, by making himself the savior against the CPP NPAs. And if you're gonna try to check on the program of SMNI, yung mga programa ng mga news nila, there's this attempt to link the Reds or the CPP NPA with the Marcos Romualdez regime. All right? Kumbaga, sleight of hand. All right? Yung magician, kumbaga, minamagic niya na kunwari hindi mo nakita na sinadya na i-link, pero yun talaga yung intention. And in fact, I'm gonna show you one proof. For example, this one, so tapos na nagsalita si Suarez, okay? Patapusin natin si Suarez, isa lang yung sinasabi niya, i-imbestigahan namin ang SMNI na pabor kay Duterte dahil nagsisiwalat sila ng fake news, ng kasinungalingan. Yun lang, napakasimple. Okay? At magsisimula ang investigation. We're gonna start investigation on November 30th, this coming Thursday. Okay, yun yung kwento. But then, other stories you need to know is that yung attempt ng SMNI, yung mga Duterte media, mga Duterte vloggers to link the Marcos Romualdez regime to the Reds. And I'm gonna show you, like I said. So, punta tayo ngayon sa mga Red Taggers, okay? Kasama dito, of course, si Badoy. Alright? I'm gonna show you what she said, or she's saying here in this video.
Kalaban ng gobyerno, si Franz Castro, si Arlene Brosa, si Raul Manuel Cabata.
Okay, Franz Castro, I don't know, she's probably a socialist. But there's a difference between a mere socialist. In fact, Duterte, many times in the past, described himself as a socialist. Okay, all right? That's established fact. Fact yan. Fact number one. All right? But there's a difference between a socialist and a communist. And according to Nelson Mandela, all right, a communist in South Africa, ang definition ng communist ay anyone who's a member of the Communist Party. Napakasimple. Alright? To be a communist, you need to be a member of the Communist Party. And in the Philippines, we have the CPP-NPA. So, of course, the NPA is their armed wing, right? The ideological or the brain wing or brain cell of the entire insurgency group in the country is the CPP or the Communist Party. And in China, they also have the Communist Party of China. Alright? Pag member ka ng Communist Party, and doon sa China, yung mga billionaires, Jack Ma, according to reports, is a member. Lahat ng mga may sinasabi sa lipunan. Alright? If may influence ka sa lipunan, billionaire ka, matik yan. Kasi yung industry ang hawak mo ay napakalaga. So, you cannot become so rich in China. You cannot become a billionaire in China without, it's either becoming a member of the CP, of the party, the Communist Party, or meron kang relationship sa Communist Party. But dito sa Pilipinas, to be called a communist, you need to be a member of that insurgency group. Pero yung mere socialist, as opposed to communist, you just believe in the idea of socialism, but you're not a member of the party. You're not waging war against this government. And in fact, instead of waging war against the government, you joined the parliamentary process. Yun. So, wala akong against doon, actually. If you're a socialist, you just believe that you have the right and you can subvert this country to become, a socialist country one day. I'm for that. I'm a very, very strong critic against communism or socialism. Pero ang may away tayo dun sa komunista, yung nag-wage ng war against this government, against us, all right, to subvert our system of government, however incompetent our government is. I still prefer to have this government than the Reds. But then I'm still against Duterte and his allies because yung pinapakita nila wala naman yan eh. If you're gonna compare Duterte, for example, with Javier Milei from Argentina, Duterte is nothing. All right, let's try to get a video of Javier Milei, for example. Okay, just to give you an idea kung ano ba talaga yung real anti-communist versus a supposed and fake anti-communist. Okay, Javier Milei is an economist. He's a libertarian, and I really disagree that with this fake news that Javier Milei is an ANCAP or anarcho-capitalist. He's not an anarcho-capitalist, and I'm a libertarian, basically small L libertarian as opposed to big L libertarian. So I'm actually talking about the technicalities when it comes to these terms. So small L libertarian is basically a classical liberal. He's pro minimal government, less regulations, all right, and more freedom, more free trade. Okay, but not to the extent of being an anarcho-capitalist na walang government. I don't believe in that, and I don't think Javier Milei is an ANCAP. So what I'm trying to tell you is that Milei understands that to fight the communists, to fight the socialists, you need to fight it via what we call intellectual and culture war. All right, culture war yan. You really need to educate the people. At yan yung ginawa niya sa Argentina. As opposed to Duterte na wala siyang alam. Ang alam lang yung laban against the Reds is like, wala lang, yung bunganga lang niya. Okay, we fight the Red, we kill them, blah, blah, blah. Alright, killing the Reds is not enough. In fact, that is what's gonna recruit more Reds to join the insurgency. Like what Ferdinand Marcos did 40 years ago. Alright? Yun yung ginawa ni Marcos. Yung ginawa niya na kunwari against siya sa Reds, alright, when in fact, he used the Reds to extend his stay in power. Because we all know, if you know history in the Philippines, the CPP-NPA was founded in 1968 or 1969 when Marcos was in power, and he had to extend it in 1972, and that's when he declared martial law, using the Reds as an excuse. And in fact, he told that to Nixon, alright? He actually used the CPP-NPA as an excuse to Nixon and the CIA. And the CIA just said, okay, go ahead. Alright? And during that time, or prior to Marcos's declaration of martial law, there's this CIA agent who was trying to look for this replacement of Ramon Magsaysay because gusto nila si Ramon Magsaysay, nalungkot talaga sila nung namatay si Ramon Magsaysay. Alright? Because they really knew Actually, you said Ramon Magsaysay was anointed by the CIA. He was actually funded by the CIA. I think binigyan siya ng, if I'm not mistaken, $2 to $4 million to fund his campaign. Pero tinanggap niya, I think, 1 million para sa kanyang campaign. Si Magsaysay was actually like Milei, Javier Milei. Pero si Magsaysay masyado siyang refined. Pag titingnan mo si Javier Milei, for example, this one, right, pinapakita ko. If you're gonna listen to his interviews, although nasa Spanish or Spanish nga lang yung language of Portugal, I don't know. Makikita niyo yung difference. So what I'm trying to tell you is that Milei loves his country so much that he doesn't believe in killing the Reds or the leftists. Gusto niya kalabanin sila, talunin ang mga socialists through cultural war. What we mean by cultural war is through education, through intellectual warfare, to letting the public know that, giving them the choice, the option. This is your option, all right? That if you continue with this way, we're gonna have hyperinflation in the long run, and Argentina is going to get ruined totally, and the public swallowed the red pill. They swallowed the red pill, and thus Javier Milei won via landslide. I think 55% of the total votes. The first time that was really historic. And whereas in the Philippines we have former President Duterte trying to revive his war on drugs and turning it into war against the Reds. Don't believe him. That's bull. All right? That's bull. He's simply trying to revive his influence, trying to stay relevant against the Marcoses. And now they're trying to link the Marcoses, basically. And again, I forgot to show you that. That's what I'm actually trying to show you here. This Badoy is trying to link the so-called the Reds in Congress with the Marcos Romualdez regime.
Gabriela, Alliance of Communist Teachers, lahat yan CPP, ang kalaban ng gobyerno. Alam niyo kung bakit? Kasi isa lang kung bakit sila gumigising sa umaga. At yan ay para sirain ang ating gobyerno.
So, kunwari, sinasabi na, kung babasahin nyo yung, if you're gonna read the caption, Speaker Romualdez na linlang ng mga makakaliwang grupo. But that's the first cousin of President Bongbong Marcos. Kasi alam namang tirahin nila kagad si Kwan. Di ba? Just imagine what would happen if they're gonna hit Marcos directly. They're not that stupid. These people are not stupid. Alright? We're gonna give the people the impression that we're just hitting the small guy. Alright? When in reality, they're indirectly hitting Marcos. That's the plan.
At ang advokasya namin dito sa SMNI ay maging kakampi ng gobyerno, katuwang ng gobyerno. Kasi bakit? Meron ba kumikita dito ng malaki? Wala. Walang kumikita ng malaki dito. Ito ay alay namin sa Pilipinas. Talagang nagsanib puwersa ang mga buhay namin dito.
So they're trying to make Romualdez like he's the voodoo doll. Alright? The voodoo. Siya yung one. Siya yung voodoo doll. Alright? Siya yung Svengali. Turning him into the political Svengali. For what purpose? Magpinsan yan. Kahit ano pang sabihin niyo, magpinsan yan. At the mere fact that Ferdinand Marcos selected his first cousin means that he trusts, him more than anyone else. More than this deceitful Duterte psychopaths. Alright?
Ito para tulungan ng ating gobyerno. Kung kami nagsasalita at nag-criticize sa gobyerno, ito ay nanggagaling sa pagmamahal sa bayan. At
pagmamahal sa bayan. You just want to be in power again. That's all you want. And they're using the Reds, basically. Yeah, I'm actually in favor of giving the Reds this amnesty because most members, if not all of the members of the Reds are stupid. Mga bobo lang sila. They don't have any choice. Wala silang choice. But if you're gonna try to provide them the choice, and ayusin lang yung pamamalakad sa bayan, yun lang. Walang corruption. We're gonna have a better country, basically. Yeah, I'm against the Marcoses, but I actually still love this country more than ever. And I want this country to be rich and progressive, and I want this country to prosper. I don't want the Reds to take over because basically the solution of Duterte is that we're gonna kill the Reds and we're gonna keep ourselves in power, and that's it. Unlike Milei, and he's now trying to destroy the central bank. He's going to change a lot of things in Argentina, and that's how it's done. When Duterte was in power, for example, that's the reason why I'm saying that Duterte is just bullshitter. Alright? We don't have to actually to completely listen to what this creature is saying because what she's saying is just lies and deceit, When former President Duterte was in power, he actually had everything. He had the Senate and the House. And in fact, they were able to oust ABS-CBN, shut it down. And in fact, they were able to use the Bureau of Correction to manufacture charges and to have all this, fake witnesses against, a sitting senator at the time to incarcerate her. Imagine how they did that. Right? They actually had everything, but what they didn't do is try to make this country into a freer, economically freer country. To implement real political and economic change, and they didn't do that. Instead, they became more draconian, like the leftists, because basically President Rodrigo Duterte is a socialist by heart. He's a socialist, regardless of what he says about the communists. Because it's really possible to have two socialists fighting against each other, and that's actually what happened in or before World War II. The Nazis, they were socialists, National Socialist Workers German Party. All right, that's what Nazism mean. National Socialist German Workers Party versus the Soviets. All right, the Soviet Russia, the communist Soviet Russia as we know today. Okay, so I'm gonna show you this. This is gonna be the last video that I'll be showing you. This is Quiboloy speaking, and he's threatening the government technically, like a veiled threat against the Marcos Romualdez regime, that if you're not gonna do this or that, you're gonna be ousted. And he's using the name of God to curse the Marcos Romualdez regime.
Mga giliang paalala ng Pastor Apollo sa pamahalaan ng pagbibigay proteksyon sa mga mabuti at sumusunod sa batas at hindi yung mga nagkukunwaring
Pagpapaalala sa mga
kakampi
tagapagpala,
ng Estado.
abuse of power.
Sa kanyang programang Sounds of Worship ay tinuon ni Pastor Apollo C. Quiboloy na the Kingdom of Jesus Christ sa kanyang atensyon sa pagbibigay payo sa mga tagapamahalaan. Ayon sa butiing pastor, responsibilidad ng gobyerno na maging mabuti at patas sa mga nasasakupan nito. Kaya mabuti raw na may iwas ang mga taga-estado sa kamalian, bagay na nasasaad rin sa banal na kasulatan.
Leaders who are to be obeyed, leaders who are ordained of God because
The symbolism there. Okay, I want you to focus on the video. They're showing there's political svingale. Their political enemy doll or doll enemy, whatever that is. Kung yung gusto nilang kulamin. Alright? Si Romualdez kunwari, he's the face of the regime. To them, Romualdez is the face of evil in this country. Kunwari.
you are in power.
But in reality, it's actually Marcos, the principal.
Leaders who are there to execute judgment to the wicked, to the evil. Listen, do not thwart the judgment of God. Verse 3 and 4.
Why? Because you're going to get ousted. That's what he's going to say.
Romans chapter 13, 3 and 4. Leaders of this country, memorize this. For rulers are not terror to good works, but to the evil.
Idinagdag pa ng butihing pastor na may mga halimbawa na noong unang mga panahon ng mga lider na hindi pinagpala at napabagsak sa pwesto dahil ito sa
Pabagsak sa pwesto. I mean, if you're familiar with political symbolism, it could either be through symbolism can be shown via posters, yung symbolism ng mga Nazi, for example, ng Soviet Russia, yung arm na ganyan ng, I don't know what to call this, iron fist ng mga communists, etc. There's also linguistic symbolism, and that's what, SMNI is trying to show you here. Yung mga napapagsak in the past sa pag-aabuso. And they're actually trying to tell the public, their supporters, that we have this abusive government. That if it's going to continue abusing its power, they're gonna get ousted. Alright, that's actually
misjudgment at pagbalik sa kamalian. Katulad niya ng istorya sa Biblia ng reyna si Jezebel na
he's
nagkulang.
using the story in the Bible to basically, give this veiled threat against the Marcos Romualdez regime. That's a veiled threat.
Noon sa haring si Ahab, nasapilit ng mga agaw na ari-arian gamit ang panaluhol at impluensya at dahil sa kasakiman sa kapangyarihan ng nasabing reyna, nasadlak ito sa matinding parusa.
When God's judgment falls upon a person as wicked as Jezebel, there was already a pronouncement of judgment to
Because to Quiboloy's fans and fanatics, he is the sugo of God. Alright? It's like he's positioning himself that I'm, God's prophet in these parts. And if you're going to continue abuse your power as God's prophet, I'm telling you that you're going to get ousted. That's actually the symbolism of Apollo Quiboloy's political sermon here. Do you understand? Alright. Now, this is just the start of this exciting part towards the political war between two clashing families in the country. Alright? Again, it's not between the Duterte industrial complex, political industrial complex, and the Romualdezes in the Visayas region. It's actually between the Duterte and his cronies versus the Marcos Romualdez regime. And I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but this potential shutdown, because they basically use the same legislative committee on legislative franchises. All right, this is the same committee that former President Duterte used against ABS-CBN, sina Marcoleta, di ba? And this is going to be the same committee that's going to investigate Quiboloy's SMNI this coming Thursday, November 30th. And I think for those sitting on the sideline like me, we might need popcorn, lots of it, on that day and after that. And if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and have a good one to all of you.